Dedicate this season to friend of the pod, Christian Salisbury. A life and talent taken from the herd way too early. He will be remembered for his speed and agility, but most of all, his smile and infectious enthusiasm. If you're able, go to the link in the description and donate to the Christian Salisbury Memorial Fund and help more kids like Christian find their way to professional football. Carry that rock in peace, my friend. You will be missed.
Who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied. If one of us goes down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody light me up.
It's time to huddle up. It's the Turf District Podcast. Welcome back to the Turf District, where we huddle up to talk all things Edmonton Elks and the CFL. And we are a proud... I'm Andrew, and that's right, it is Turf District Tuesdays. Welcome back for Season 9 of the Turf District Podcast. We're so glad that you joined us here on YouTube, or if you've downloaded the show, thank you so much for downloading, and we hope you enjoy it. Of course, if you get a moment, hit the subscribe button down there, hit the little bell so you know when we're live, tell all your friends, share, all those fun things. We are going to have a really, really fun season with lots to talk about and lots more wins to talk about. I just feel it in my bones, and I know it's going to happen. So let's bring in all of the regular gang, starting with one super fan, Mike. Oh,
there they are.
And subscribe are back.
They're back again.
Oh,
yes, it's been 3 months. It's been forever.
We've missed like and subscribe.
It has.
Yeah.
I've been practicing, all week, just getting my hands in shape.
Sitting in front of the mirror.
Sound right, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We like to have fun on this show. That's what we're gonna go with. Hey, speaking of that, I heard you have your seats have gone back into the spot you were very excited about. I would love to say that you're back in your G spot, but that sounds horrible. So where
big shout out to Carter with the Elks. I hit him up on Twitter and said, we used to sit in section G. We had 2 seats, and then we added 2 more because we wanted to bring our son and then maybe bring someone new every week to hopefully get someone kind of pumped on the team and maybe get a new season ticket holder. So if we could get back in G, that'd be great. And I've been saying that every year since we moved. And it generally speaking, it was a little tough to get any sort of traction on that, but he was great. And turns out they're just letting anybody in these seats because now we've got Janelle and Sean sitting beside us.
Well, they finally come to the dark side.
Yeah. So there we go.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now just about that tailgate spot for them, and then we're all set.
Well, they're working on something.
I know. It's exciting.
So there we go.
Now, who else do we have this evening? Well, from down south, we have Commissioner Kayla. How are you?
Did you just say this evening? I'm pretty sure you just said this evening.
I might have. Who knows? It's really good cream ale. Yeah, I like to change it up just for you, Commissioner. How are you?
Swag. I'm just kidding. I'm fine.
Swag.
Is that good or bad? It's a lamp.
Honestly, I have no idea.
Oh, cool.
About anything anymore, so we'll just go with your interpretation.
Oh, that's trouble.
None of us want to go with our own interpretation.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well,
I couldn't care less.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we're all back together again to chat all the footballs and have a lot of fun. Before we get to our guests, I just want to talk about our pod schedule that will be coming out for the next little bit. So we're going to be doing one per month until we get to May, and as training camp kicks off, then we'll be going back weekly with all of our regular features, talking about the game wrap-ups, setting up the next week's game, all of our betting, all of our fun betting that we like to do with each other. That will all start right in May. So other than that, though, we'll be kicking off on Tuesdays, one a month as we get set up, just so we can catch up with all the latest news and make sure that we're all set to go. I also want to do a quick thank you to the Alberta Podcast Network. You probably noticed that we didn't have that logo at the beginning. We're going on to some other things that will be coming out pretty soon, but the network has been great to us for 4 years. So thank you so much to them. And also a big shout out to Sean Spruill for the new computer system, which is making this oh so lovely and stream so nicely without us having to look like Picasso figures. At least that's the hope. We'll see how it goes. But so far, so good. All right. Now we have lots to talk about tonight. We've got signings, we've got a new schedule, we've got lots of upcoming excitement, and of course we have two amazing guests. Now, before we get to our guests, though, I do want to just take a moment share our love and thoughts to the Christian Salisbury family. Huge loss for the team and, of course, for them. And for us, he was a friend of the show. And as you saw off the start, we are dedicating this season to Christian, and we are working on some things to try and help with the GoFundMe to help Melissa and all of her stuff in helping other players like him get to the big leagues, because we need more of those. So we definitely need more of that, but our thoughts and prayers with everybody in that realm. And the link should be in the description right below to the GoFundMe if you want to donate. All right, let's bring our guests in because we have very fun guests this evening. They are part of the Elks content crew and have been doing great things as far as pictures and videos and all this other great stuff that you're seeing on socials and everywhere else. Bringing in Brent Steven.
Good. How are you doing? Yeah, no problem. It's nice to be invited on. Don't see too many team employees get invited on unless they're coaches typically. So
I was.
Yeah, this is the episode where the fan base turns on just me. Because Richard's living the dream. This is the city he grew up in, the team he grew up cheering for. I'm from a couple hours south, an alternate city with another team.
You don't
Conversion therapy.
No Andrew audio.
Yeah, I just fixed it. Sorry, I blew that. There we go. Yeah, I kind of knew that you were from down there. That's kind of the reason that I loaded that question first. But Richard, you were a fan of the team before. Tell it. How did you become a fan?
Well, I was watching the team, since I can remember, basically. So, coming to the stadium, watching the games. Yeah, it's been around ever since I have, obviously. So, yeah, I watch the games. I've always loved this team.
Awesome. Do you remember your first game?
Well, actually, I do remember the broadcast more because for me, it's always been about watching the games with my family.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So, generally, the games that I remember the most are the ones that we all watch together. However, there was a really good one a few years ago where we got into the lower bowl, and it was packed, obviously, and Mike Riley was slinging touchdowns, and there's nothing better than a full cone.
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
So true. That 2015 West Final.
Oh.
One of the best games ever.
Chills.
Yeah. Now, hang on, Brent. Were you a fan of that other team before you came up here? Or I appreciate that you're wearing the right colors now, but where
Well, if we're going to say it in the most Elks friendly way, you could say I was sabotaged from the beginning. There's a handful of people know this, but my dad is Mark Steven, does the play-by-play for the Calgary Stampeders. So from the beginning, I was sort of set to be a fan. I grew up going to practices and all that. My dad has stories of various players holding me at practice as a child and all that. So it's kind of born and bred to be a fan of the team not to be named. But I started loving the Elks when they started signing paychecks. And that is my public stance. I love them. Always have. Maybe.
That's
very
fantastic.
wise.
As it should be. As
Yeah.
it should
Hey,
be.
I sit with a Stamps fan for season, like the whole season. So you know what? All love, sort of.
You're working on
Ish.
her. You're working on her.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah,
eventually
I
my
don't wanna
wardrobe will
change
change a bit and match the
Yeah.
colors maybe, but right now I'm banned from wearing red in the office for sure, but there's a locker room rule where there's no red in the locker room. But what am I supposed to do? There's every team in Calgary is red. The Trojans, State Trojans, the Dinos,
Dinos.
the other team we've been
Roughnecks.
alluding to, all red. So like what else am I supposed to do? And even, I have a Derek Dennis sweater, but it's also red. It says DD. It's not exactly branded for anyone other than Derek Dennis, but it's red. What do I do?
My.
So close.
That's well, you know what? Like I said, you're wearing the right colors this evening, so you're still welcome on the podcast. That's the important part. Otherwise, this would be the Richard show, which is, that's not so bad either, but that's we want to be fair. All right, Mike, I stepped all over you. You go ahead.
That's all good. So you guys both work in media originally. Like how did you get into that? What was your sort of inspiration to go in that direction career-wise?
Want to go first, Richard?
Yeah, sure. So I don't know. I picked up a camera, I would say like in university, first year of university, when I was, starting a different program. And then, I just started using it. And I think the other main reason why I got into media is because I was going to Golden Bears games.
Oh, okay.
And Golden Bears and Pandas games, and seeing that the arena wasn't really that full.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked one of the professors around why exactly the arena wasn't full, in his opinion. And he shrugged his shoulders at me. He's like,
Wow.
I don't really know. And I was like, okay, well, that was the moment that I think that I, fully invested in this path.
Makes sense.
Very cool.
What about you, Brent?
Sorry, repeat the question one more time, how I got into it.
Yeah. How did you get into sports media?
I think it was always sort of destined to happen in one way or another, just because of my dad, growing up, watching him interview guys at practice, hearing him on the radio and the talk show all the time, whether he was always talking about CFL or whether he was talking about, even the NLL. There are actually some times as a kid where I called into his radio show to ask a question about the Roughnecks, which I could have just asked him when he was off the air. But so it's sort of always destined to happen. And actually, initially, I was planning on getting into radio broadcasting in some way. I don't know if I would have ever done play-by-play because, my dad, I guess, is setting the bar high as far as my expectations go. But I did a year of radio school and actually ended up dropping out because I just found it wasn't what I wanted to do. But for years prior, I picked up a camera for the first time at about 14 or so. I borrowed a camera from a friend in Kelowna when we were at a track meet out there. And then after that, I was like, I got to get my own. So for the longest time, I was so set on, doing photo more so than video. And eventually, they just kind of sort of met in the middle there. And really when that kind of happened, when video for me got pushed a little further, was when I went to the University of Calgary. Or actually, sorry, just before that, I was at SAIT, Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, and the program I was in required us to do a practicum with, some sort of media entity. It was kind of a broad multimedia program I was doing. So I sent out a few emails here and there, and the Dinos got back to me about it and said, hey, yeah, we're definitely interested in picking you up. We already have a photographer. How would you feel about doing maybe a little bit more video rather than just photo? And that's sort of how that got started. So it was just, an interest in cameras and technology. And then, my path sort of got woven for me from there.
So a question for both of you. Who makes the best DSLR?
I'm going to say biased, but at least for video, man, I'm huge on Sony right now. Panasonic's doing a lot of great things, but I would say Sony is making some really great stuff right now.
What about you,
Wow.
Richard?
It's a loaded question. There's thousands of dollars hanging on the line with that question. Because the second that you start to say, oh, Canon or Panasonic is doing it better, you start to question your huge lineup of Sony technology.
Right. that's fair.
So I mean, Sony is the one that I go for too. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna amend my answer a bit and put some asterisks. I say if you're getting into the more entry level price point, I guess they're not removable lenses and all that, but I'd say Panasonic makes some really good stuff at the entry level, very user friendly. But I would say once you're getting to you're willing to drop $1,200, $1,500, something like that, somewhere in the intermediate zone, I'd say from then on go Sony. Everyone has kind of their preferences, but I'm big on Sony.
Nice.
Awesome.
Oh man, I need to rethink my strategy.
That was all for you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Now I'm like, oh crap, huh? Mine is so ancient, irrelevant.
It's out there shooting with Pentax.
No, I got the
Polaroid.
film stuff still.
Film is still cool. I shot a bunch of film photos at the West Final. They look neat.
That's cool.
They look neat. Yeah.
That's pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Anyway, shop talk aside, I know there's probably like a lot to choose from, but do you guys have a specific or maybe a few favorite memories of football so far?
Over the whole
Another
course.
loaded.
Yeah, it's just I'm sorry to just kind of go in front of you, Richard, but I'm just going to get all of it out of the way. But there's such a range just because, my whole life has been spent around the CFL. So I'm going to split it into maybe 2 or 3 categories. I'd say for on field, and this is where the Elks fan base is going to hate me a little bit more. But this was a playoff game in 2012 against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the West semifinal. This was the loudest I've ever heard McMahon in my entire life. It was pretty packed. I think they were right at about 30,000 or so. And it came down to the last minute and a half, 2 minutes of play or something. And Drew Tate threw a strike down to Romby Bryant. It was a busted coverage. He grabbed it and ran for the touchdown. And the last 2 minutes of the game, everyone was on their feet. It was so loud in there, you couldn't hear the music coming from the speaker. This was when it was still suspended in the middle. It was so loud. And when he caught that ball and was going to the end zone, it was nuts. I think it was 15 at the time, 14, 15, but that was one of the most insane on-field experiences I think I've been around for. I think was Keon Raymond, who was on the team at the time. He described it as hearing a volcano erupt when they got the catch. So,
wow.
I mean, for me, that was nuts. There are a few other good ones for on-field. That's the one that stands out the most. The 2018 Grey Cup, that's always a great memory, but it wasn't that same explosion of he caught the ball. And then everyone forgets this, but towards the end, people were still on their feet because Saskatchewan had a chance to bring it downfield and go for the touchdown. And I think they went from midfield, and I think it was Keon Raymond had an interception right on the goal line or something, and that sealed the game, and that was it. It was nuts. I lost my voice that game.
The only reason that we'll allow that story is because you beat Saskatchewan. That's
right.
The important part. Then it's fine.
Yeah, I don't think any of those on-field memories come against the variations of Edmonton football teams. So
Perfect.
fine on that end.
Fair enough. What about you, Richard?
Well, I mean, this year, Brent, you had that whole episode of Mike Jones.
Bro, I'm never safe if there's a Mike Jones on the field.
Mm-hmm. Nicely done, super fan. That's good. Yeah. Didn't you get run over? Yeah. So
this is another funny story. I guess you could link to a good football memory. But what happened is that I think I forget what week this was. I think it was Cornelius was throwing, but he threw a route out to Mike Jones. He came back for the ball, grabbed it, was turning upfield. And I knew he was going to come very close to hitting me, but I was like, that hasn't happened yet. It's not going to happen now. So what happened is that he got redirected a bit by Winston Rose. He just gave him enough of a push to change the angle so that Mike Jones was going right into me. And by the time I realized that this probably was going to happen, it was a little bit too late. So I started turning a little bit, but not enough. So it was shoulder to shoulder right with Mike Jones, but his helmet smashed right into my camera. So it demolished the lens right off the bat. The camera, I think, might have been fine if I didn't fall back and drop it, but that was a lot of damage. But the funny part is that a few weeks later, the Calgary was playing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and my dad does a segment on the pregame show where he talks to someone from the other team. He just so happened to be talking to Winston Rose. And at the end of the interview, he's like, all right, that's great. That'll air. By the way, you pushed someone into my son on the field. So I forgot to follow up with Winston after the next games we played against Winnipeg. And I should have at the West Final, but he was like, oh, man, I did that. I'm sorry. Like, tell your son to come talk to me next time. So it was another funny football memory with that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So is that your favorite memory, Richard? Or
Honestly, everything around it was just so funny because that was the Cree broadcast game.
Right.
So I was helping out with some other projects. I actually wasn't on the field when you got hit, Brent. So it was actually me and Evan were in the media lounge. We watched the replay on TSN, and Evan just looks up. Evan Dom, by the way, he's my manager and like our manager. And so he looks up and he's like, I think Brent just got hit. And like, we realized what happened. There's this huge scramble to like get out there and like go and make sure your camera's okay and everything. But yeah, and like James Wilder was in the hallway being like, go, 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 go.
All I can see, Evan's there like, oh, there's another add to my budget with that. Yeah, great. All right. Yeah.
Wait, I have a question. What about the water turf? Because that's always intrigued me.
Yeah, so I found out apparently the city was not very happy with what I was doing, but TSN was. They were showing me right on the field jumping on this big air pocket. I put on a TikTok and it I wouldn't say it blew up, but it got a lot of views very oddly for like a video that was just kind of nothing. So what ended up happening is that in that game, there was just an absolute torrential downpour. Like I don't think I've seen rain that heavy before in my life. It was nuts. But what happened is that underneath the field, because there's artificial turf, there's sort of, I don't know if you call it an irrigation system, but essentially it's to deal with that flood of water. It sort of seeps through and goes through some sort of sewer system. I don't know what to call it exactly. But it got so overwhelmed because there's so much rain so fast that air started to come back up through and is getting trapped by the turf. But I was just so curious because I'd never seen anything like that in my life. So I was like, well, naturally, I have to jump on it. Either I'm going to solve the problem or it's going to look kind of funny. And it looked funny, but
It
the
did.
city of Edmonton.
That's what insurance is for. Liabilities.
Exactly. The same insurance that was going to cover me if I was injured by Mike Jones.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Same insurance that
That's
I
what
think
it's
paid
there
for my camera.
That's excellent. That's good. Good to have all these things.
That was the game that Chuba Hubbard was there. That was against Calgary.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
it
was already that game was already so like what a crazy night that was. So
I was a little mad.
I
was a little mad about the rain and how it sort of chased people out because here's another fun story. I actually know Chuba Hubbard. So back in the day, he ran track in Alberta, and in 2013 we went to Legion Nationals together, which is the national for the I don't know. I think they changed the name of the group, but youth and the midget age group. I think they just call it U16 now.
Okay.
But yeah, so we were on the team at the same time. So I know him to some personal extent. But yeah, man, Chuba Hubbard is, he's obviously a phenomenal athlete. He was great at track and he was running some crazy times as a young kid, like 15 years old, running like 10.7. Like that's nuts. Wow. But what's crazy is that he, the first year I met him, he, I guess was 14 at the time. And I didn't see him for a long time until he was 15, man. He went from like a kind of like a big kid that's oddly muscular for a 14-year-old to like a full grown man at 14. Yeah, but I hate that the rain kind of chased him out, and I didn't get a chance because the game, there wasn't really a pause for me just go and say, "Hey, Chuba, you remember me from 9 years ago?" I think he would have, but yeah, the rain really got me.
Do you feel like, did you remember me? Obviously, our bodies are the same. I mean, it's we got the right. Like we've totally been working it. You say, "Hey, you want to jump on a big air bubble with me?" That's what you could have done. Yeah. Oh well.
I think they would have let him on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Now, Brent, I did want to ask you, because you had put out a tweet, I think it was last week, talking about how you guys are always kind of in direct competition with the NFL for eyes, right? Eyes on football, and people eyes on sports in general. But both of you guys, I'll start with you this time, Brent. But how do you feel that social media and content help to bring people to the team?
I think I might defer this one to Richard, because as far as working in a pro sports environment, I've been on the job for about half the time that Richard has, and what it's been to lead them to the Elks specifically. I'm lacking a bit in knowing what has led to this point now. I could tell you a bit about what I think we've done differently this season and how I think that's attracted some people or will eventually do it. But in terms of the long tail of the social experience with sport, I think that might be a Richard question.
Okay, Richard.
In terms of the Elks.
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I officially joined with the team in October of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my start. My first week, Trevor Harris got traded.
Wow.
Welcome aboard.
I think I fully settled in on Friday afternoon, and then the trade happened that weekend.
Wow. All right. So it was your fault. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Okay.
We did have a little bit of a curse, we called it, for a little while in the season there, where whenever an article would be written about a player or whenever we would feature them in a video, it happened I don't know, somewhere close to 10 times in a row where that person would get released. So we have to cut them out of the video, or we have to cut the article or write it about someone else. It was like a curse for a little while there.
Well, welcome to what podcasting is like. We talk all about. That's why we changed to Tuesday nights, because we used to talk all about the whole team on Monday night, and Tuesday morning, 3 of the people that we were excited about were not there anymore. So it's like, oh well, maybe if we go to Tuesdays, we'll actually catch these the right way. Well, okay. So Richard, tell me a little bit then. How do you feel that media and content bring fans to the team?
Well, if you look at Nathan Rourke's tweet, he's explicitly mentioned watching Brett Favre on NFL films.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of this content, it just helps to show people how cool the team is, and yeah, as long as it's cool, then you'll come. That's what
I think we can talk about a little bit more in just sort of a broader sense, maybe not so much specific to the Elks, but I think, social media has just evolved so much, especially in the last 10 years or so. It wasn't, I guess, maybe in social media time is a long time ago, but it wasn't all that long ago where, most teams were only feeding to traditional media. So it would just be to, established news stations. It would be just to, newspaper outlets. They would just be putting their articles, and their ads are only there. And then, they evolved to billboards, and, social media has just brought another avenue to advertise, to promote your team. But it's also evolved in a way where, being popular in social media kind of integrates you into the social zeitgeist of what's cool and what's not, if that makes any sense. So, that's somewhere where the NFL has done so well for so long. Sorry, I just about knocked my mic over. They've been able to see these new platforms, really take advantage of them, and they've connected to new audiences, or they've connected better to existing audiences, and that's a real opportunity that I think the Elks specifically, and the CFL as a whole has to take. For us specifically, I'll just go ahead and talk about TikTok, because that's such a hot topic. In my last year in university, it seemed like everything somehow circled back around to TikTok. But this is another avenue where you're able to connect with a new fan base, not only in terms of the age, because it's not much of a mystery that the CFL as a whole is sort of missing out on that younger age group, where the NFL they've taken those opportunities, they really capitalized on them, and now again, we're battling for the younger people's attention and away from the NFL. So back to TikTok, if you look at the NFL, they've just done such a great job at utilizing TikTok. They've taken so many different approaches, quality over quantity, quantity over quality. And, they've been able to capture that attention that, we've missed out on a little bit. So, at least in specific to the Elks, we did have a TikTok going, between people coming and going, COVID changing things, staffing levels, all that sort of stuff. That's somewhere we're looking to really take advantage of. And then hopefully, that blows up. And then, the Elks, not to say we're not cool now, we're very cool. But, the Elks
More
are
cool.
in terms of what am I trying to say here? In terms of being cool with the young kids, we can kind of recapture that again, So again, TikTok, I'm not going to give you a date, but I'm going to say returning soon-ish.
Okay. Oh, cool.
That's what I'll say. So those are areas that,
Exclusive.
social media can really help out. You utilize these platforms and you reconnect with those audiences, or you find new audiences. The new way of serving out a lot of short form content is all algorithms. So, Reels, TikToks, YouTube Shorts, and all that. These are ways to get your content out. If you can take advantage of these algorithms and understand how they work, how they serve that content, you can get back out to those audiences or capitalize on those audiences and bring those people into the CFL. And, the goal is to materialize that in some sort of way, whether it's ticket sales or merch sales, whether that's subscription sales for TSN streaming services, or whether that's just brand awareness and eyeballs on the team. So I think that's sort of the role of social media in the most broad sense when it comes to sports.
No, that's awesome.
And I think it's also too, if you're successful in expressing a certain personality across social media, which can be really hard to do. But I find what the teams that I follow in the CFL, well, which is all of them, but some of them are successful because they can interact with fans and with other teams, but also have a really humorous side and poke fun at themselves, which I noticed on the Elks Twitter. It's like, we're going to get a home win in 2023. Like, right. It's like poking fun at yourself and not taking it too seriously, but at the same time, like being proud of who you are and expressing a personality, which is like, you have to do that in social media to gain attention. Otherwise you just fall flat and people get bored.
Exactly. And I
Very
gotta give huge
easily.
credit to the Toronto Argos and that sort of stuff. I
Oh
think
my
they're
gosh,
pretty funny on
yes.
Twitter. They're great
They
on Instagram.
are.
I think
Yeah.
so my sister is not as into football as we are. She did watch the Grey Cup and she keeps lose track of the stamps. But one thing she caught on to a couple of years ago was the Argos posted a bunch of stuff about Pride Day, and there were a bunch of, I'll just say bluntly, they were ignorant comments. And they were like, I'm going to unfollow this. And like the Argos were just replying like, good.
Yeah.
Or like, goodbye, Felicia. And
Yeah.
it was pretty funny how they responded to it. And that was a good opportunity. And, my sister saw it. If she saw it, how many other people are seeing it that aren't, huge on the CFL or football in general? And then,
I love when you guys have fun with it. It's so awesome when you have fun with it, right? Like even when you have those videos of the guys and they're doing something fun and laughing together, I think that's a whole different connection. It's one of those, you're talking about, it was all traditional media. I mean, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys on YouTube 10 years ago, but now we are, and we're talking about how that interaction makes a difference, and seeing the players and being able to connect to them. I think that's huge for the team.
Yeah, and I think back to showcasing some of that personality, although the focus is always on the players, I think it's never a bad thing to have something like that behind a team account. An example I can point to, and I feel like I'm just going to keep circling back around at TikTok, is Duolingo on TikTok. Sometimes their comments are so like unhinged. It's pretty like, I find it pretty funny, but it's almost like, wow, I would get fired for that. Like there was one comment where I think whoever was running the Duolingo account at the time, like they like ominously threatened someone's family. It was like, oh my God, like this is a language learning app. So I'm going to say Edmonton Elks, we're not going to do anything like that.
No, but that's good. That's good.
But, there's some personality to showcase there. And the other side of that, too, is that it also helps your account as well, because that's another way of showing that you're interactive or you're active on the app. Sorry. So if you're commenting on other teams' TikToks or random TikToks like that, that can help your account as well. But in two ways. One, your content is more likely to get served because it shows you're more active. But in another way, there's something funny to this page. You'll say, comment is funny. I might check out their profile, and then hopefully they're sucked in by a few good thumbnails and just scroll through and be like,
works on me.
Button on this. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, actually, and I'm going to have to shout out the Argos again on this. They had a pretty funny TikTok where they posted something kind of poking some fun at Bo after the 2021 season promo where he called on the phone and said, yeah, oh yeah, Toronto, yeah, we're going to win. And then I think someone commented something like, didn't you guys lose last year? And this was 2021. And they replied like, no one played in 2020. I thought it was pretty funny, but actually, funny enough, the Stamps video, if you go back and you watch that one, you actually see me in the background of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just by coincidence. I was gonna be there, and I knew Bo was gonna be there because so Mike, I don't know if you guys know Michael Klukas, but he played for the Stamps for a bit and had a season with the Red Blacks, but he hit me up and just wanted me to film some of his routes and stuff so he could send that tape out to coaches and get picked up. And I'm not gonna say it was totally me, but he did get signed by the Red Blacks after that. But yeah, he said Bo was going to come out and just throw some of the routes. So,
well, not all heroes wear capes there, Brent.
Yeah,
some of them are in the background with a cardigan on.
That's perfect. That's the next Marvel movie.
Great. Cardigan Man
lurking in the background.
Yeah. So one thing, I mean, we all love a lot of the stuff that's been put out in the last little while, especially from the team. So when you plan like a new bit of content, what is the biggest challenge from start to finish to get it done?
Well, I mean, the ideas is actually a lot of the tough part because before you shoot, there's so much stuff that has to be figured out. So once you have the idea down, then the rest of it gets easy almost. So like almost you have to have like a format built out, and then so you go through the meetings and you do the ideation and you're like, all right, this is just going to work. And then the easy part is, getting the lighting, setting up the cameras, pressing record. Yeah. And then if it all goes to plan, then it comes out exactly like you planned it.
Nice. Is that the most rewarding part when you have the finished product and it's like you thought?
I definitely think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree to that for sure.
Awesome.
Cool. Oh, I don't know. My next question is kind of controversial, but we'll go with it. What player, maybe players, we'll make it plural to make it a little less controversial, are the most fun to work with?
I would say for the Elk, from my experience, S.A. Marabere was great to work with. He's always a funny guy. We have a personal connection. I know him from Calgary, because of course. So S.A. was really great. Our global kicker, Ryan Meskel, is fantastic awesome. In front of the camera. He's so good. Like so when I did some of the videos centered around Australia with him, I just, we did the trivia one. I just gave him the questions and he just went with it. I didn't give him much for prompts or anything. Or the Australian lingo one, same thing. I'm just like, hey, do you have some slang words you want to throw out there? I found a few, but you go with it. So Ryan Meskel is so good in front of the camera. AG is an absolute natural. You don't have to give him much. You can say, hey, here's the intro. Now just go with it. He's great to work with in front of the camera. Those are the ones I can just name off the top of my head that were usually great. And actually, Steven Nielsen was actually pretty good as well. I think offensive linemen are almost a little bit underrated. I mean, a lot of them don't have the best the most personality, I'll say. They're usually kind of quiet, reserved, don't do much with media, but I was kind of taking a risk here with Steve Nielsen because I wanted to do more with our global players.
Right.
And he's underrated. He's pretty funny. So we did Danish trivia where he just went around and asked teammates questions about Denmark, and same thing.
Flag?
Yeah, didn't have to give him much to go off of, and he was great with the whole thing.
He was really good. He came to the bowling. I think it was last year. He was really funny. Yeah, he's a funny dude. Richard, who do you like working with?
I mean, Jamin Pelly is just like,
he's fun.
I mean, he's the best. So yeah, Jamin is so good. I mean, AG is there's nobody better than AG. You can always count on him. Pretty much everyone on the team was great to work with, actually.
Jamin ate a fistful of cold beans once.
Yeah.
So what we were doing is that we were trying to put a better spin on the clear bag policy because we had to do some reminder videos just saying like, hey, this is a thing. So we just didn't want to we did it once where we just had Adam Konar stand in front of the camera and read the script, and it was very dull and it wasn't the greatest thing we've ever done. But we were trying to figure out a way how can we spice this up and still convey the information. So essentially we just had Jamin, like I wrote a short script and he improvised a lot of it. And he's just like, I'll eat the beans. I'm like, okay. So I got this can of beans for like $1 from the Stadium Mart just down the road and came back with it and just sure enough, cracked it open. And he just went right in, just dumped it in the bag, just grabbed it, like mashed in his mouth all over his beard and just gave a smile.
I'm trying to understand the context of what that has to do with the clear bag policy.
Because the clear bag can fit your beans.
Yeah, clearly. And you could see that they were only beans. Yeah.
I don't even remember where the idea came from. Someone just mentioned beans and we just kind of rolled with it. And that was
just like beans.
That was the entire thing. It was one of those things where like we just didn't really have an idea. There's not a lot of ways to convey this information in entertaining manners. We're just like, sure,
fair.
let's do it. You know,
I think it came out of like an ASMR thing.
Oh gosh!
It came out of an ASMR thread that we were on previously, and then
like you do.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Or like a mukbang, like.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. All right. Well, I know we want to get to some of this other information, but Mike, was there a couple of fan questions in there that we just wanted to get hit up quickly before we get too far into the other info?
For sure. There's lots of great stuff in here as usual. Let's just scroll all the way back. I think we've got some of our guests have been interacting with the crowd while we're going. So this has been great.
Yes, I saw that.
Other than the audio, everyone's really impressed with the sweet, smooth video. So that's always great.
Sweet.
Chris
Thank
Agar
you.
does like to remind people that red shirts have one purpose. It's for washing the car.
It's very helpful.
Yeah.
My Dino shirts are for warm up.
There you go. As long as we can't see them.
Yeah.
Chris also says that he had the opportunity to meet Richard at the annual dinner. He's a class act. So I think, Richard, you owe him $10 now.
Yeah, that was a paid comment.
Yeah, exactly. Sir Hugo. Wow, he's been knighted. Jerry says that NFL films has been so important to their growth. And it's one of those things that that's always been my dream, is that if I had all the money in the world, there'd be a CFL films and we'd have a lot more footage to work with for sure. And a lot more creators, which would be fantastic. What else we got here? TSN covering the games has to get better. That might be a bit of a controversial one.
Ooh, that would be. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Get out of this one.
Yeah.
No comment.
They're a fantastic sponsor of the league. So Coach Vic says, which team in the CFL besides the Elks has the funniest interactions on social media? Who's rocking it?
I gotta go Argos.
Go
I think
Argos
that's just
as well.
yeah, that's an easy one. They usually have pretty funny, snappy replies.
For sure.
I think I want to give a little bit. I know some people are not going to like this, but I want to give some props to Winnipeg. They've had some really good, GIFs and memes and stuff. I'm like, oh, that was well done. Yeah, so they're starting to get some game in that as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Their back and forth with the Bombers are usually pretty good.
Yeah,
Sure.
They have some fun.
Chris also suggested Toronto and Montreal as well.
Oh yeah. Montreal has a few in there for sure. Although I think Gary Stern had a lot.
Yes,
that was a fun game. All right. Any others that you want to grab there, Superfan? Or
That's about it. Other than Chris Agar mentioning that Jamin Pelly will be entering the NFL draft this year, and good luck to him.
Yes. Yeah. Good luck, and we hope you don't make it not, because we want you to be here. That's kind of I want him to keep coming to tailgates. That was a lot of fun. Yes. That's amazing. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about some players and things that have been going on since we were last on the air. So there was some releases. Offensive lineman Global Steven Nielsen, which of course was probably because you made the video, Brent. That's we
first came back. That's
already
really
learned
what
that.
it is.
That's what it is. Defensive back Deron Carter, defensive back Treston Decoux, linebacker and friend of the podcast Brady Sheldon, and offensive lineman and also friend of the podcast Tony Washington. And we had to know there was going to be some changes, and to get some other guys in, some other guys are going to move on. So that tough to see some of those guys go, but you know that some of these changes are going to happen. Signings wise, so we have a new O-line coach in Steven Sorrells.
And so does Saskatchewan.
Correct. Neat. It's like we've tradesies. But that's one way to make that happen. Now, a couple of signings. No, there's a ton of signings actually, but I just want to go through names that we'll actually know. One that I think you guys will be excited about, Ronald Ollie, who was on Last Chance U, who is a super fun guy on the camera. I'm excited for you guys to be able to do stuff with him. I think that might be kind of fun. Defensive back Luchez Purifoy joins from the BC Lions. So are you guys all getting Pennywise masks or?
To be determined, depends on his contract structure.
Right. Oh, perfect. Okay, good. Yeah, okay, that's good to have that. Big one, both literally and figuratively. Defensive lineman Jake Serezna is back. Nathan is over the moon that wide receiver Manny Arsenault is back, and he can get his Manny Show t-shirt signed because every other piece of Manny Arsenault equipment that he has is now signed. So now he has a new one. So thank goodness for that. Running back Ante Litre, defensive back Jamie Harry, wide receiver Danny Vandervoort. Yay!
Yay, Mama Vandervoort.
Yay, that's exciting. Defensive back Ed Gainey, and of course, many, many others that we have yet to meet, but of course we will. Training camp will be interesting. There'll be lots of new names again, but less new names than last year, but still we're going to have a lot of new names. So when you guys get to training camp and you have these signings and all these new guys, do you guys kind of try to talk to everybody and then go, oh, this is the guy we got to film that with? Or is it just kind of like hit like right on the run, or what do you find?
We try to get a sense of sort of who's who and who has what sort of personality, because not everyone's going to be great or natural in front of a camera, even when it comes to, talking to the media, never mind doing a video, asking goofy questions. So we just sort of get a sense of who has the personality. And one way I figured that out really quick is when I did some of those videos last year where I just chased guys around with a camera after practice and asked them a stupid question. Some of the responses we got, that's sort of how I figured that out. Hernan also does a really good job at getting to know these guys. And if, we usually start off with a morning meeting. And if I suggest like, hey, here's a video that I want to do, we already get suggestions of, oh, this guy will be great. This guy would be great. This guy's funny. This guy X, Y, and Z. So usually either find out for ourselves sometimes, but a lot of times it's sort of a collaborative effort.
Okay. Can I put a plug in for Dylan Mitchell? Because God, that guy was so nice. Holy man. Yeah. After practice, just runs over, sits in the stands, chats with us. Like he was, what a great dude. And a good receiver. So plug him up. Yeah, I like that. Any of those names specifically, Superfan, that really stood out to you?
You can never go wrong with getting Jake Serezna back.
Absolutely.
He was our big all-star from the last season, and he's just a beast in the middle. So, it's the obvious choice, but it's really hard to go wrong with that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Commissioner?
Sorry, did you say surprise or?
No, which one that stood out to you that you were excited about?
Oh, well, Manny, of course.
Yeah.
Because he's just so lovely.
Yeah, he is. He's awesome. Yeah. And he must be reasonably good for you guys too.
Yeah, he's huge. He's really good on everything. I think maybe we didn't mention him earlier when we were asked who was good to work with, but Manny was just an all-star.
Yeah, he is that. Yeah, in every sense of the word. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's a lovely
it is the Manny Show.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Superfan, are you ready to do a quick hoard and tell before we talk schedule and things?
Yeah, I could do that.
All right. Here we
It's
go.
been 3 months, so there's been a few different things. So I'm going to just try and narrow it down to one category here. Lots and lots of paper things exist for CFL stuff. I've done programs, I've done trading cards, I've done schedules and things like that. One thing that certainly used to be done every year, we still do the annual dinner, but before that, they would have a banquet at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. And the players would all come. And I've got a few items that are kind of, I thought, cool. Here's one right here.
Oh, wow.
So this is the 1954. It is just right after we won our first Grey Cup. And that is signed by the whole team. There's a couple of signatures on the back. But it'll have things on here like the menu, the program, was in there.
Oh,
But
wow.
let's be perfectly honest. The important part is all of those signatures. So you've got Jackie Parker, Normie Kwong, Rolly Miles, Johnny Bright, all the stars. And the same time I got that, I got one that I've been kind of dreaming of, but never got a chance to get. Maybe not as famous names, but I think just as important. This is from the very first season of the club.
Oh,
This is the
wow.
1949 club. And inside, all of the signatures there.
Holy cow. That's amazing.
And for those people that are of a certain vintage, old, that name right here, I don't know if you can make that out.
Pete Lougheed. Yes.
Some guy named Peter Lougheed. I'm never sure whatever happened to that guy. I'm not entirely sure. I think so. And he might have been premier for like 20 years. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so like I said, same kind of stuff on the inside. There's the stuff that's been going on for that year, but this was the very first season. So finding anything signed by the entire team is pretty tough to find. For people that are wrestling fans, there's some good wrestlers in there, like Gene Kiniski and things like that. So
Ooh.
yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you, Superfan.
For sure.
I love those. I love it. And it's been
Yeah.
too long since we had Horde and Tell. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think I said I got a big stack of stuff all piled up here. So
Yeah, I bet. All right, let's talk some schedule. Schedule came out. Preseason starts with a Monday game in Calgary. You're welcome, Brent. It's at 2 p.m. on the Monday of the May long weekend. Are we thinking like TD field trip?
might be.
Might have
It's a 2 o'clock start, so it's a good start time.
Right, good start time. We can go
Got it
down
back in the same day.
right.
Exactly.
Be perfect. I don't know. I think this is pretty exciting.
Tailgate first.
I like tailgating. That's good. Tailgating is exciting. But I think that could be a fun one. Now the first home game, or wait, I didn't do that right. The first home win,
There it is.
guaranteed win, as it so turns out, is Sunday, June the 11th, 5 o'clock start against Saskatchewan.
That's a win.
It will be a win.
Yeah, Richard just calling it right there. I think that's the most confident I've heard you, Richard. That's amazing. That was
That
good.
is a bold
I
prediction.
love it. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
it. I love it. Guys, I know you can't tell us a whole lot, but I'm sure you're working on big things for the season opener.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, right now, what I can say at least is that, we're already back to work working on a lot of different assets and things for not only the home opener, but games throughout the season. And we're hoping that this year we can elevate the experience even more. Behind the scenes, there's lots of stuff happening with just what happens in game. There's discussions happening, just about every day in a higher level, stuff I'm not usually involved with because I just point cameras and stuff. But it's sort of nice that this year we have a whole team that's going to be together throughout the off season. Whereas last year, there's Richard and there's one graphic designer and there was what was her title again? We had a social media coordinator for a little bit,
Right.
Didn't end up working out for other reasons. So we didn't have a social media coordinator for a while to start the season. It was just sort of done by committee. And then as we got closer to the season, I started, I think, just after rookie camp, a day or two into main camp. We had another graphic designer who was hired, I want to say a couple weeks later, maybe a month later after me. So we didn't have a whole team together to do a lot of this and brainstorm ideas. And we do also have a full-time, her title's not social media coordinator anymore, but she does a lot of socials and other stuff. But Jill Maher we have, and she's super creative, comes up with a lot of really great ideas for us to execute on. So, we have a full team that's going to be together leading into this next season. And, I can say, good things are definitely on the horizon, and it's just, a matter of continuing to work as a team on that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's exciting.
I really think that is a pretty huge element. I'm very excited about that. Just because instead of having people coming in and out and also kind of just understanding their jobs, and even this goes for me too, like doing things differently this year that were done differently last year. Like in the middle of the season, we were like, well, we want to start doing press conferences differently.
Okay.
Right in the middle of the season. And then you're like, all right, well, now we have to build out an entirely new system for doing this while we're doing everything else as well. So yeah, it'll be a big deal having everyone together right from the start.
Oh, that's
Yeah, the Elks herd asked very early on about the contrast between 2020, 21 and the 22 marketing campaigns. And, I can't answer a lot of those questions because a lot of the marketing stuff is just sort of beyond my job description and title. There are a lot of things I can suggest and execute on and do, but ultimately the whole umbrella of marketing is, I'm somewhere down here. The umbrella starts here. I'm just sort of holding on to the handle down here. But I one thing I can say at least is looking from the inside, we have a team, at least in terms, our comms team is together and consistent. So we're together and, we're sharing ideas, working collaboratively, and we don't have one guy that's trying to do 8 different roles. I mean, we do a lot more than our counterparts would in the NFL. Someone like me, they probably wouldn't do a whole lot of photo, or they probably wouldn't do much socials or anything like that. But such is the life in the CFL. When our teams aren't worth billions of dollars, it just happens. You can't hire, 8 people. If you could hire 2-3 people
Well done, Richard.
to kind of tackle those jobs, and there's some overlap and all that, that's great. That's what I'm here for. But I can say we finally have a bit more manpower to do a lot of these things, so people can focus on their objectives, their goals, what they want to do. So I can say that's it. And I right now, I don't know about our communications team specifically, but in terms of the number of employees at the Elks, I think it's the largest it's ever been. And that's one thing I think Victor has just come in, kind of kicked in the door on and done a great job. Rather than trying to stretch resources thin, we have the resources to do a lot more than I think was previously possible. And this is my retrospective. Obviously I wasn't around before to get the full picture of everything, but just in terms of talking with Richard and Evan and all that, I'm sort of getting the idea of like, I can see why certain things might not have happened, why things fell apart, is because there just wasn't a lot of resources to do it. In another world, Richard could be working for the Elks, but he would be doing everything. He'd be just doing everything for, in-game assets, from cool videos on the board to all the different ads that come up on the mid-bowl LEDs or the ones on the sidelines. He'd be trying to make social media videos. He'd be trying to do practice photos. He'd be trying to, run social as well. And so that's what I can praise Victor for a lot as well, is that, he just kind of took a look around and said, like, what's going on? And, made sure he built out a team of people that are qualified, of people that can do a great job, people that have a diverse skill set, but then also hiring people that, they have their main job and that's their main focus. And that's what they're great at, but they're able to kind of do other things. So
yeah,
thanks, Victor.
I'm quite
now I have a job.
I'm quite certain I would not still be with the team if Victor didn't come aboard.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
High
Well,
praise.
it's the one thing that we heard a lot even last year was that Victor has high expectations, but he empowers his people and make it happen. If you can make it happen, then great. So that's what we like to hear. And I mean, he's great to talk to us too. It's a lot of fun. So we'll see how that's got to be coming soon. Don't worry, we're still working on it. Everybody that's listening, we're working on it. Yeah, we'll get Victor again. All right. So now for the rest of the season here, or the rest of the schedule, I'm just going to pull that up again. There we go. So we have 2 Thursdays, 1 Friday, 4 Saturdays, and 3 Sundays. Almost all the games are at 5 p.m., with 2 of them at 7 p.m., 1 at 7:30, and 1 at 2 p.m. Mike, I know you and I have talked about this before. That's a little more family friendly, especially with the 5 o'clock start times instead of the 7 and 8 o'clock start times.
100%. When we have those 7 and 8:30 start times, especially when you're on like a Thursday, that's really tough for those of us that have young children that are trying to get to games, because the people that are in maybe that 20 to 30 demographic that everyone wants to get, if you can get them early and get them when they're 10, 12, 14 years old, they can really fall in love with the team, and it's probably an easier get to get those people there. So having the ability to bring my now 11-year-old to the game and not having to worry about him being a complete zombie or a little cranky on the way home is definitely a huge thing for us. I mean, we were going to take him anyway, but we don't have to, NyQuil him on the way home. So that's kind of nice.
Well,
or,
that's okay. Almost the exact same comments for the 15-year-old. I get it.
Yeah.
Like you just never, like,
yeah, but that's all the time with a 15-year-old.
It's fair. Yeah. You just never know what you're going to get. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Here, have some more chocolate, son. Cause you're really, you need a Snickers.
Yeah. Or as Coach Vic is just saying, for those, he lives in, Sylvan. So that's a bit of a long drive after the game. So being able to get out of the game at 8:00 at night makes it a little easier to drive home.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. No, I'm excited for that. Now we get Calgary only twice. Just the Labor Day week games. Other than that, we don't see Calgary again. The Labor Day game goes to 5 p.m., which is a little bit of a change. I get that they want to have the stability on the times so that there's a little more, hey, if I go at this point, there'll be a CFL game on. I get that, but it might be a little harder for travel for some of us for that one, being that it's always in Calgary. The Elks do not play in Montreal this year, but we do see all 4 of the East teams coming into Commonwealth. So that's a little bit of a difference. And then this one, and I want to get everyone's opinion on this one, but the playoff games now going to Saturdays other than the Grey Cup, which of course stays on Sunday because Saturday is like the giant party day. What did you guys think of that? Let's start with you, Richard, and then we'll come around the horn.
Could you restate just quickly?
Just that the playoff games are on Saturdays, and then the Grey Cup staying on Sunday. But what do you think of those playoff games on Saturdays?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to taking video of them.
Attaboy. Actually, only the second one because we're going to be hosting the West Final anyway. It's fine. Yeah. Brent, what do you think?
I think it's a positive change. It was tradition for the longest time to host them on Sundays, and I think there's at some point you got to kind of break tradition and say, does this work? Would this work better? Is there an option for us to do things differently and observe if this succeeds? So a lot of fans had been asking and saying on Twitter and all of our socials and just straight up asked Randy Ambrosi at the State of the League. He said, hey, why are we trying to compete with the NFL on Sundays at these times once we get into playoffs? And, I guess the thought process for this was like, yeah, why are we? So I think it's a positive change, and I hope that it's going to, lead to more viewership on TV, more people attending the games. Because back to what we were saying earlier about competing for attention, we are competing for attention, and there's a lot of people that are maybe on the more casual end of the fan spectrum that, despite it being a playoff game with higher stakes, they might say, no, I'm going to stay home and watch this playoff game, or they might tune into that NFL playoff game instead of the CFL. So I'm definitely interested to see how it does in terms of viewership and in terms of attendance. I think there's an instance earlier this year where a game was pushed back to a Sunday. I think it was at the Riders game where everyone got sick.
Toronto, I think it was for the COVID. Yeah.
And then if I recall correctly, the viewership was significantly higher for that game, or it was, percentage wise, it was a lot higher than it was expected to perform. So, I think that was an instance of, hey, what could this work in the future? So, I'll be interested to see how Saturday playoff games do, and then see, what the Grey Cup is going to look like still on a Sunday. Year after year, they're still putting up good ratings for it. It's routinely one of the, if not the biggest sporting event in Canada every single year it happens. So, I'm interested to see how it's going to go. And, at least I get another day off before I'm back to work.
There you go.
Commissioner, what do you think of the Saturday playoffs?
Oh, for me, it matters not. I will be there.
Okay, perfect.
But as long as Grey Cup stays on Sunday, that's my only.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because I think that's the party. Right? It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday game.
You can't break up that party, man. You can't do it.
Yeah, you need to be stumbling into the Grey Cup game on Sunday to make it a proper Grey Cup weekend. Superfan, you remember when playoff games were on Saturday before? So
So
I'm curious what you think of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to quite go back that far to the 60s when they were all on Saturday. I mean, Brent talked about breaking tradition. That was the tradition that playoff games were on Saturdays. In fact, the Grey Cup was on Saturdays just in case they needed to push it back a day, like they did in the Fog Bowl in 62. They had to have it on 2 different days because they canceled the game halfway through. I think the fact that we're not competing with the NFL when it's at full steam is a lot better for our league. Some people are saying you're competing with, Hockey Night in Canada at that point, but that's sort of near, not quite the beginning of the season, which is usually early October. So I think it's not going to quite be as tough for us. But I mean, they have to give it a try. Like, they've got to try something. If they don't try anything at all, it's like we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. It doesn't really work when you're trying to get more eyes on your product. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gonna make a difference to me. I'll watch it Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, whatever. So if that can get more casual fans watching, hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Well, even in Edmonton, like, it's regardless, when it enters a certain time frame, you're always competing with hockey. Always.
Right.
It doesn't matter the day. So
Yep. How many times is the game on Kissin instead of 6:30 Ched because there's a Oiler game? But I actually like it because there's a chance that you're more likely to travel to the game. I know we're going to be hosting the West Final, but if something goes wrong,
but
and
other
we're
people
not
can travel
hosting
here,
the West Final, then we could travel to watch the team play in the playoff game and still come home on Sunday and be ready for work on Monday. So I think there's lots of good, maybe not ready for work. I understand, Mike, but I heard the laugh. That was good. But I won't have a voice still. We all know how that works, but still I do like the idea behind having that, the extra day. So, okay, quickly before we get in, finish off and then hit to overtime, free agency. We want to talk about it a little bit here because it opens on February the 14th, which I thought is great. It's the day you tell all the players that you love them by giving them a good contract. Here is our prop bet for this week. What is the over under on teams, or how many minutes after, it'll be, I guess, be 10 a.m. Our time. How many minutes after do we see the I choose you meme before they pick somebody up? I am going to go with the over under at 14 and a half minutes. Richard, what do you think?
Ooh.
I'm wondering how widely viewed that meme is right now. If we run the numbers and it's bad, then we won't probably be using it.
I'm not even specifically talking about us, but across the league.
Oh, probably not.
Yeah,
I give it 2.5 minutes.
Oh, so you're gonna go under? Okay, Brent.
I mean, is the usage of this, what's the context? Do you think they're gonna use it and tweet it at the player they just signed? Are they gonna?
I think they're gonna put it out saying, yes, they chose this player, and here's the announcing a player signing. That's what I think they're gonna use it for.
First signing.
I'm going to go with 2 minutes as well. And my theory is that some of the comms teams are going to know ahead of time because of the new legal tampering window. They're going to know who's going to sign, who's expected to sign, and they're going to have it ready to go. So the minute free agency opens, they announce they sign the contract, boom, alt or control enter, boom, tweet it, done. It's going to happen within 2 minutes. They're going to have it ready. It's going to be sitting in Twitter. They're just waiting to hit tweet. And as soon as they get the word from Football Ops, boom. Okay, but 2 minutes, within 2 minutes.
Okay, so we got 2 unders. Commissioner, what do you got?
Under.
Okay, super fan.
Oh yeah. Thanks to Ed Hervey, we are definitely going to be seeing it under.
Okay.
That legalized tampering, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. The fact that you can have this basically wrapped up and all you have to do is fax it to CFL headquarters. Yeah, way under.
Okay. You should have said how many teams, like over under how many teams are going to tweet that one thing.
Okay. Here's my theory though. I'm gonna go over, and the reason that I'm gonna go over is because everyone's gonna assume that that'll be the first meme, and so they're gonna have a different meme loaded for the first guy, and they're gonna use that one for the second one. So I'm gonna go over. We'll see how that goes. The Ed Hervey tampering period opens up on February 7th. Elks have 13 players still that are listed as possibly going to free agency. I know we're a couple of weeks ahead of the time here, but that list does include Kenny Lawler, Darrell Walker, Mac Henry, Toby Antigua, and previously mentioned S.A. Marabere. Is there a guy there other than Lawler? Because I know we all are like, come on, Kenny Lawler's the top pick, right? But is there another guy in that list that is like, oh, we really need to make sure we get that guy back? Superfan, I'll start with you this time.
Well, if we are going to be keeping that defensive tackle spot, a non-import or national spot or whatever you want to call it, then two of those guys, Mac Henry and S.A. Marabere, are both Canadians at defensive tackle. So I'd like to see one of those. I'm very partial to Marabere. I think he's very talented, but he's also just a great guy. Anytime we've had interaction with him, and he seems to be great on social. So keeping him in green and gold, I think would be great.
Okay, Commissioner?
Honestly, I don't have an opinion.
Okay. All right, then. Fine. Be that way. Fine. Be
Or
quiet.
it might be a little controversial. So I will.
Okay. Wait a second. Go with controversial. What's going on? What are you talking about?
I personally, I don't know if it's just because like the injury, but Lawler, I could kind of see like actually not.
Oh, interesting.
Personally, I think we have some up and coming receivers that may benefit in the long run.
Okay. All right.
So
that's fair.
That's my controversy.
All right. That's fair. You're just excited because Vernon Adams is starting in BC now. That's
I
know. And once again, happy it's a video podcast. Okay. Richard and Brent, I don't know if you guys are allowed to comment on those ones.
A very good idea for us to say nothing.
That's kind of what I
plead the fifth.
I'm going to just say that BC is already taken in terms of staff, video staff. There was a guy working for Chris Jones in the video department all the way through the year, and BC hired him as a social coordinator. So BC has already cleaned us out, free agents.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know if you guys have looked at the lists across the league. And again, I know Richard and Brent, you probably can't really comment, but Commissioner, have you looked across the league? Is there there's other names that are going to be out there, like Janarian Grant, Darnell Sankey, Shane Ray, Justin Lawrence, Jagera David. I mean, we might as well get Jagera Davis. We guarantee to get the breakup. Yeah, I mean, that's the one you want to pick, right? But have you looked at the rest of the list? Is there a name that pops out to you that you're like, oh, I'd like to have that?
No, I haven't. I've just seen like signings and who's starting, and I saw like Mazzoli got re-signed on to the Red Blacks, and then like Vernon Adams and Nathan's going to obviously training camp or workout with.
Oh, Nathan works? Yeah.
Jaguars, Jags, yeah. So honestly, no, I haven't. I've been so out of touch since the season ended, honestly.
That's fair.
I'm not even like checking Twitter lately, so.
All right. Okay. Superfan, your pick was Jagera?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's been in 6 consecutive Grey Cups. I think he'd be kind of obvious. It's like, well, let's bring him onto our team then. Yeah. We'd like to go to the Grey Cup.
Wouldn't we? Yeah. Okay. My pick, I don't think he'll still be available by the time comes, but I would say Janarian Grant because, oh my goodness, that guy's fast. I would like to see that blazing down Commonwealth Field. Thank you very much. I'll take it. There's gonna be it's gonna be lots of fun, and our show will be on February the 21st, where we will talk about all of the signings and maybe have one of those signings join us. Just never know how this is gonna work. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for the podcast. If you want to stick around for overtime, we'll get to overtime here in just a moment. But first, tell everybody where they can find you on socials and where they can interact with you guys and see all of the amazing work that you're doing. So let's start with you, Richard.
My first and number one social media contact is Edmonton Elks at Go Elks on YouTube.
Nice.
So everybody watching this needs to go and subscribe to the Edmonton Elks on YouTube.
Yes, they do.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the number 2 contact would probably be at Lemon Spread.
Yeah, if you need to get in contact with Richard, just come to me first.
It's good you've got an agent.
Yeah,
that's very good. Yeah. All right, Brent, where does everybody find you? Where does everybody find you? No.
Well, I guess I'm the agent, so you got to come to me. You got to come to me to come to me, and you got to come to me to go to Richard. Hey, just look, if you just search Lemon Spread on just about any platform, you'll find me.
Okay.
And Richard.
And Richard, that's good. Yeah, good. I look forward to you changing your bio to say Brent and Richard. That's important so that we know that we can get a hold of either of you. It's awesome.
Elks digital media coordinator, Richard's manager.
That's right.
We have to talk to Evan about an adjustment to the pay scale for this.
Just gonna
That's
say
right.
15%. Sounds fair.
Yeah, no, 200% increase.
Yeah.
Oof.
Only. Wow. All right, Commissioner. Everybody, where does everybody find you?
On Twitter at Justice Lombardi, relatively soon-ish.
Okay.
Taking a little break right now, but we'll be back.
All right.
I mean, I'll be back. I'm not a we.
Okay.
The
Okay.
royal we.
Royal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super fan.
You can find me at pretty much on all socials at 56 Parkies. And then you can find the history and horde segments at EDMHISTOREE.
Oh, there's the song. Gotta love it. And you can find us, of course, at the Turf District and me at Free Policious. Join in all the huddles on the Turf District everywhere. That's where you will find us. Although, I'm sorry, Brent, not TikTok. Maybe yet. I don't know.
Yes.
I'll see.
It's
I'll
coming.
see.
It's too old. Come on, guys.
I don't know.
No.
I'm gonna talk to Richard's agent and see if he can come help me with the TikTok.
There you go.
That's what I'm gonna, because I can't.
Everybody go follow at Lemon Spread.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah. See. Wait. That isn't. No. Turf District. That's what you're supposed. What's going on, Richard?
Contact me to get to Turf District. It's just how it works now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Also, again, I want to say thank you to the Alberta Podcast Network and follow all the great shows there at albertapodcastnetwork.com. That's the last time I do that, but I just had to throw one back in there. Also, make sure you are following all of our friends at Pay It Forward with Football, doing great things to pass on lots of good kindness through the game of football.
Mhm.
And as I said before, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the Turf District. If you're on YouTube live, stick around because we're going to have overtime right away. Lots of good chatting and interacting with all of you great fans that are joining us back again. Otherwise, we will be back, like I said, on February 21st to recap free agency. So for Brent, Richard, Commissioner Kayla, and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely see you in, well, a few weeks or in a couple of minutes.
Don't go anywhere. It's overtime.
And we are back with overtime, our first overtime of the season, which is always a ton of fun. And you guys have been amazing guests. Thank you for taking all of the time with us. We really appreciate it. Oops, wrong one. There we go. All right, super fan. This is, of course, when we become Turf District After Dark. So let's find out where all the. I just wanted to see what happened when I said that and watching your guys' facial expressions. It was great. Let's scroll back, see what's in the chat and what we can chat about.
For sure. Of course, anyone at this point can start typing into the chat. We will scroll back and hopefully get there. Some interesting stuff in there. Took me a couple of takes to figure out. Coach Victor Sloboda saying Victor does surround himself with qualified people. At first, I just thought he was talking to the third person.
It applies
Victor's
to
burner account or something. It's just very poorly done.
Yeah.
They'll never know it's me if I'm also named Victor.
Right. Well, he did say he was married to a Calgary girl, so I'm like, is that what he's talking about? Oh, That Victor got
He's
it.
gonna tune in. Victor is very smart and handsome and is great.
Well done.
That would
Wow.
never, yeah.
Yeah.
So CFL Mixtapes says prediction for Week 3 versus Lions for the home opener.
Ooh. Oh my. That's
he
a
says-
long ways away. How
Well,
is
it sounds like he's a BC fan because he says we beating you guys 59-15.
No.
Whoa.
No, that's not going to happen again. We're not going to have that happen again. Come on.
Again.
Yeah.
Does he mean Week 2 home opener for the BC Lions? I'm assuming that's what he means.
Must be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just excited to go to Vancouver again and eat Vancouver sushi. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, you'll bankrupt yourself on Vancouver food. Yeah.
Not with that per diem money.
No,
That's my favorite part of the CBA. And if I ever get involved in the negotiations, it's all about that per diem money. Because not only do the players do it, I get it too.
And if you're in Vancouver, you got to go to Shabusen because it's all you can eat sushi.
I haven't been
yeah.
there, but I've gone to Sushi, California. But man, like sushi in BC, it's so much better than it is in. Okay, I got to dump on Montreal here. Worst sushi is in Montreal. Atlantic Ocean sushi must just be garbage because Pacific Ocean sushi is great.
Yeah.
Every time I went to Vancouver, first thing I did was go to a sushi place. I went to Sushi California twice. I was there a couple times this year. I went twice with the Elks and then back again in the CFL when I was doing some work for them in the playoffs. No complaints there.
No,
Great sushi.
No. Okay, where is California sushi? I don't even know where that is.
I don't know, near the hotel.
Okay.
Vancouver.
Because I'm like, I'm going to Vancouver this weekend, so I might go check.
I think there's one or two locations, but yeah, it's so good.
Okay, that's good to know. But I agree with Mike. Sabushan is
even like the stop and go sushi places so much better in Vancouver than they are in Montreal or the East Coast. Although I haven't had sushi on like the actual East Coast, like in the Maritime provinces.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so just hang on a second though. So, but you live in Edmonton now, so
yeah.
So where do you go for sushi here?
I haven't gone for sushi in Edmonton yet. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh.
I'm at work or I'm at training, and that's sort of my life.
Okay.
That's
all right.
I'm air frying chicken.
Oh my. Oh. Brent, you just brought the whole show down. Like
it was such a great investment.
It was.
Nothing wrong with an air fryer.
Well, here we are planning a trip to Hot Pot though. I know it's not exactly sushi, but we got to do Hot Pot for sure.
Oh,
there you go.
I didn't. I thought we had just talked about it potentially.
I'm planning it.
Richard is planning. If you're ever looking, there's a new place that's right on like 50th Street and 106th Avenue. It's called Catch of the Week, and they like fresh make the sushi when you go in. That's actually pretty good. I'm pretty happy.
Catch of the Week from where?
Yeah, I obviously not around here.
They got a rod and reel at Superstore or something. Or
actually, the weirdest thing I got from a stop and go sushi place, speaking of going in there, they make it and all that, is they made it, but this was right around the corner from the Marriott where I was staying. But like they had sushi, but they didn't like cut it up. It was just a log.
Oh, really?
It was just like whole thing of seaweed. Slap the meat in there, slap it on the rice, and they just rolled it up, and that was it. It was just logs of sushi. It was weird.
Oh,
that is bizarre.
That does not sound appealing at all.
It tasted good. It was just very odd presentation.
Yeah. Odd presentation. That's a good way to put it. All right. Go ahead there.
Do we have any predictions for the home opener in BC, the Lions home opener?
The Lions home opener? Without really knowing our team, I say we win 35-27. There we go.
Like it.
Sorry, is this preseason or
regular season?
Regular season? Oh
Yeah,
dear.
We're just throwing it out there.
To quote Mr. T in Rocky 3, prediction: pain. That's easily my best Mr. T impression.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
Didn't it sound great? So Kobe Godwin asks, are the Elks looking to do more promotions with high school and junior football?
We've thrown around some ideas here and there, but I don't know if there's anything that we've 110% committed to, but a lot of that stuff kind of falls on our community guy, Ryan. So going to stay away from speculation on that. But there are we do actively discuss, what can we do for certain things. So it's always in the discussion.
I would love a video where you have like the Adam and the Pee Wee kids playing against Elks.
Oh my goodness.
And the Elks are playing touch, but all the Adam and Pee Wee guys get to play tackle. So they get to just haul the guy down. It would be one of the greatest videos of all time. It would be like this giant guy running down the field with all of these 6-year-olds hanging off the back. Come on, come down. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All over this. Support minor football. Right.
I mean, I loved last year when we had the Golden Bears and the Elks playing in the same day. That was great to have both teams there. It's the first time I've actually seen a Golden Bears game at Commonwealth. So
you mean cool. A Dinos game?
Yeah, it was. But
Brent Sleeves call. That's right.
Yeah.
I can back you up there, Brent. I went to the UFC, so I'm kind of torn between both teams.
What do you mean torn between? There's only one option.
I can't. I can't.
Who's won a Vania Cup more recently?
Yeah. Well, that's where I was like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nicely done, Mike. That was very subtle.
One time I did wear a sweater through the office and down into the field was when we did that double header. I went, instead of going to the U of A sideline, I went to the UFC sideline, and I was wearing my red 5th-year sweater over top of my Elk stuff. And I went to the office that day, and I was like, all right, either I might actually get into trouble, or they're going to laugh at it and be like, nah, it's okay. He used to do stuff, a lot of stuff with the football team. He used to run with the Dinos and all that. But so luckily it was the second option. But I just remember Evan coming up to me. He was on the Dino sideline, and I thought like he was pulling out his phone, and I'm like, is he going to like show me
Twitter
like a mean thing or something from higher up? Did they like say like, what is going on? What is this guy doing? But he just laughed and said, oh, let me take a picture of it. And he just tweeted at my boss from the UFC. And then what was pretty funny is that they took my boss at the UFC took the score graphic that they use for football, and they replaced the U of A logo with a picture of Evan. And it just said Lemon Spread 1, Evan 0. And I thought it was pretty funny. And the background wasn't an action shot. It was just me in my sweater with the picture Evan took.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Okay, but in my defense, though, for both, undecided, I went to both universities. So you kind of have to give me a little bit of leeway on that one.
No sympathy.
I'll remember that.
You went to SAIT too, and I'm a NAIT grad. I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's a good thing you're a good guest, dude. Holy jeez, I don't know what's going on. No, we're
at least they got a track team.
Thank goodness you're attached to Richard. That's what I have to say.
Holding the floor together, Richard.
Okay, so the way my head works is, Brent, you are one of the most hardcore CFL fans that I know.
Yeah.
So, and that totally trumps everything else for me.
Doesn't matter how much I talk about the Dinos at the office or Calgary.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I'll put up with it as long as you keep up with your knowledge of everything that goes on in the CFL.
Even compromise.
One of our a guy that does a lot of our writing. I keep forgetting everyone's exact title, and now people are shifting roles. But one of our guys that does a lot of the writing, Brian, man, he is just like an absolute like Rolodex of just sports information and knowledge. Like it's crazy. But I kind of take pride when I know a fact or something goofy that even he doesn't know. It's a real win for me.
Feather in the cap.
Swainer.
No, you have a little notebook. You write them down. Yes.
I remember this all by head. My dad can remember numbers, statistics, facts, all this crazy stuff. I just know weird tidbits, and that's my whole. And I got a lot, Like our socials girls, Jill, she says it all the time, but she, she didn't grow up as, she's paid attention to the CFL, but it didn't pay the most attention to it. It's not what she, lives and breathes. She didn't grow up going to practices, but there's sometimes where I'll just like go off with a story about a guy or say, oh yeah, that guy, no, he played with this team, X, Y, and Z, did this and that. And then she's like, half the time, she's like, how do you know these things? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just here.
Look at the stuff behind him. There's no entertainment there. He just sits and reads media guides.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I just have a box full of random things there because I haven't bought a bookshelf for most of that stuff to put it. But there's a lot of like random CFL memorabilia in there. I have a Wally Buono bobblehead.
Oh goodness.
I have a Calvin Anderson bobblehead. Actually, I'll grab two things real quick that I kind of stole from the CFL in the playoffs.
Oh,
Okay.
fantastic. Oh,
Quick shout out.
And by
well,
stole, I mean I just sort of took them and they let me have them because we're redesigning them for next year. But after the West Final, when the game was over, they just looked around the room and said, "Hey, who wants these?" Because they're going to throw them out. So these are the cards they put on the table. So I got Vernon Adams Jr. This one aged pretty nicely, and then I got Lucky Whitehead one to be determined on February 14th or sooner. But they just kind of let us have them. And I was like, well, why not? Like they're redesigning them. They're not going to use them again. So I took them, but I had a nightmare bringing them back. I thought I was going to bend and just destroy them because I had 3 carry-on bags and no, I did not pay for an extra one. So these didn't fit in any of my bags. Otherwise they would have bent or snapped in half or something. So I just sort of kept them on my hands the whole time. But I also had to carry my monopod and a winter coat and these 3 bags strapped around me. So it was quite the ordeal. But I was very happy when I got back to my car at Edmonton International Airport. And now they're here.
Kayla would like to know your address.
Yeah, I was expect a robbery soon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's not a lot worth taking around here.
She
I
only
see
wants
one
the one
thing.
thing. Just the other one. Yeah, the other one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's the one. And the best part of that is when you held that up. The moment you held it up, Mike and I both shot to watch Kayla's facial expression, to watch just the gasp of awe.
What was also kind of funny with Vernon Adams, though, is that like maybe I don't know how he's an athlete, if he's that kind of guy that's lasered and focused in, or how he behaves. But I was filming from the BC sideline, and our other guy that was working for the league was on the Bomber sideline. But like Vernon Adams just comes up behind me and like looks right over my shoulder and is looking at where I'm pointing the camera on my big monitor. And he's like, "Damn man, you got a cool camera." I'm like, "You're supposed to be paying attention to what's going on." I didn't know what to say. I don't know how to react. I'm like, "Thanks, dude."
Yeah.
Play was about to go
you.
off. I don't know what to say, you know.
He's just a nice dude. That's the thing. Like
That's my only interaction with him
genuine
to
dude.
this point. But yeah, I like him.
Yeah,
Can confirm.
yeah. I had one of those. I know you can see my James Franklin jersey behind me.
What?
But I had one of the nameplates from Franklin when they played in 2015, and I was like, yeah, it used to be stuck at the top of that, but it didn't stick anymore. So anyway,
Yeah, I
Okay,
haven't found a place. To put
Richard,
this
who is
one
your
yet.
shout out, by the way?
Well, CFO Mixtapes, who is he's a big BC fan, so he would have loved those. But anyway, big shout out to him because he makes great stuff, and yeah, I think he also paid me to say that.
This wasn't run through me. I need my percentage.
Yeah.
Oh my. I'm going back through the chat. I think you've responded, but I think it deserves mentioning here. Tim asking, my question to Brent is, what's it like to have 2 first names and can he change them on a whim? Which I thought was outstanding. And I do enjoy that you said that Lemon Spread is your middle name. Well done. That was excellent. Yeah.
You can blame my parents for me having 2 first names.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my
well,
coaches back at the UFC, his name was Steve, and he would end up calling me Steve or Steven half the time. And then he was like, "No, you're Brent." And I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah. Thank you. That is my name. Yeah.
I went to school with a guy who had 3 last names, no first name. So I can imagine he could relate.
Was it McLeod Bethel Thompson?
No, but that's a good one too.
Okay. Law firm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got in there, Superfan?
A lot of people were absolutely not shocked about the bad sushi in Montreal. Coach Vic says Montreal is smoked meat and poutine. Tim Capper, who lives there, of course, added and bagels. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
I thought he was talking about air fryers when he said "and bagels."
Oh,
I only found this out because my sister finally bought my mom an air fryer for Christmas.
nice.
And she sent me pictures of bagels. I'm like, you can do this? Like, I thought you just threw like meat and vegetables in it, and that was the purpose of an air fryer.
Just
Nope.
like a microwave just pops popcorn and reheats leftovers. Yeah, same deal.
Air fryers are great. It's made my life so easy.
Okay.
There's a YouTube channel in there somewhere.
There
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Elks
Oh,
air fryer coming this season.
What I ate today.
That's right. Yeah, that's his new TikTok.
We'll have Aaron Grimes just going on making stuff in an air fryer all season.
Let's try to just jam a bunch of football-related items in an air fryer. How long can these gloves last in an air fryer before they burn down Commonwealth? I'm Aaron Grimes. You know what? That we could do that, Richard. I say, why not? You know, there's that YouTube series back in the day where the guy just microwaved things until it exploded, and he like destroyed his parents' like what would you call it, sunroom, just like blowing through the wall. You know, we do that with Aaron Grimes.
Aaron
But it was looking at it now, that was so reckless. Like, I remember the video I'd watched where like they would just stand behind this really thin glass door and they put tinfoil on it. And they're just like, the joke was to keep our nuts safe. I'm so shocked they didn't die because there was just a little like, they covered the whole door in tinfoil. There's a little slit for their eyes. And I forget what they microwaved one time, but it just exploded, completely shattered the window, went right through the glass and the tinfoil, and the rest of the video was just them cleaning it up and like, yeah, we're gonna pay my parents for this. Oh my god.
One day I want to just sit down with you and watch the videos that you watch and see what happens, because I would not find any of these types of things. That's amazing.
Honestly, this is what happens at the Elks. This is where like half of our video ideas come from, where I'm like, how stupid would this be? And then it sort of trickles down into like, this actually makes sense. It's
Genius.
feasible. We can link this to football, the Elks player personality. Like, so we started an idea board where like for the longest time we had just been sounding off ideas and they would just get lost in the mix and all that. So we finally started a board where if we come up with an idea, we write it down and everyone else can see it. And that's where an idea like this should go, which I'm going to write down. Actually, this might lean into
right
being
now.
too stupid. Maybe I'll bring it up before we talk about writing it down.
Okay.
Going for beers first.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow. Hey, Evan, I got this idea. We're going to get Aaron Grimes to burn things in an air fryer. What's our fire insurance policy like? The CBA cover fire damage to players.
If you guys want to set your watches, about 9:38 approximately a.m. tomorrow is when we'll be talking about this idea again.
It'll be like a new pope. There'll be all the smoke coming out of Commonwealth.
Yeah.
It's a new
Yeah, it'll be one
idea.
of those things. Hernan, can you contact the league and ask them what the CBA says about fire?
Fire ban.
Are they still covered by the league medical insurance if we accidentally set them on fire?
Well, one way to find out.
See, this is how sometimes these are the ideas I have where I think maybe I might end up ruining the franchise, where we're gonna get like all of our quarterbacks all at once to do this. Where like we're like, all right, here's the video idea. So first of all, Taylor Cornelius is going to be plugging it in. We're going to have Kyle Loxley set the time, and Trey Ford is going to hit the play button, and it's going to burst into flames, and they're not going to be able to play again ever.
So you're really just here to sabotage the team. You just admitted it.
Yes,
Like
I'm here to dismantle it from the inside out by doing dangerous things. See, I'm convinced
that's why
Victor in the stream is a Victor burner account because he said live stream it.
Yeah.
And Victor's big on live streaming.
Yep, live stream.
Yeah, we'll have to find out if YouTube will demonetize it after the fact. I know they've shifted their policies to include the first 30 seconds of the video. So how much can we capture people's interest until the explosion?
Oh my, that's outstanding.
Oh, see, Mike Wayne just says it's TikTok worthy content for sure. So
I think we could do like I think we could like air fry an entire football. I think beyond that, it might just get dangerous and reckless, and I am going to ruin the team.
Yeah, might. I like let's put the quotes on that one. Might.
Yeah.
But see, Brent, let's follow that thread. What else could we cook? Like, could we somehow instead of it being an air fryer, could we cook the football somehow else? Is there another variation of that content?
What I think we should do is we should talk to sponsorship, and we should get them to have two sponsors. So one's an air fryer company, the other is some sort of another company. We try to air fry their stuff. Actually, one brand might not like that. Both might not like that idea. We see how far we can push this idea while also getting some sort of return on investment besides ad revenue.
Yes.
And it'd be fun to watch too.
You've got a lot of people that would all watch it here.
Yeah.
In fact, once said they'd pay to see it. So there you go.
Wow.
Okay.
Look at
It's
that.
like
Hey.
it's like will it blend meets that air fry or the microwave thing where we're just like destroying things, you know?
Well, last year when we were throwing fruit and vegetables off of the balcony down to the area below.
Air fry a watermelon until it explodes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. That's
Tyler says fry a whistle. Have it on a rope.
Ooh, a whistle.
Is
There
it
you
still
go.
attached to a referee or?
Yeah.
But air frying
depends which
opponent
referee.
team colors merch. That's not a bad idea. I'll have to see what the budget is for burning other teams' items.
What about the mascots? The other team's mascots. I mean, come on.
Oh my god.
I'll ask if they just send us one of the plushes from BC, and we'll see how long can. I don't know what their mascot's name is. How long can so and so survive? In an
Leo
air
the
fry?
Lion, isn't it?
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
for
Like,
sure.
how long can Leo last?
I have a stuffed gainer that a Saskatchewan fan brought to me that I'm happy to donate. I'd be happy to be part of that. That's not a problem. Yeah. You know, we need to make sure all the teams are recognized. That's a good way to do that. Yeah, I could only, somebody else said this, I can only imagine what these brainstorming sessions are like. Just sitting in the back going, oh, that's an interesting plan. Although it does bring a question to mind for me. What's in the box? That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was.
I really, I can't remember what was in it, but I'm pretty sure it was Adam Konar, and he's like just poking and poking and poking. He's like, and that face of like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And oh, it was so funny. And I loved seeing more of those types of videos during the game where you're really sucked into not only, okay, this is funny, but you get to know a little bit of that personality. Like, was that idea? Did that initially start as, can we air fry something and somebody has to realize what it is, or how did that start?
I just want to say quickly, have you guys been to any other sporting events
Oh,
with
yes.
other teams?
Oh,
Yeah, and they do a bunch of those things.
So exactly, right? I mean, there's no reason why we don't have those. And, you know, that was a whole part of it. I think you can expect a lot more of that this year.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the things we're focusing on, not for socials content and in-game content, is some of those pieces that go just beyond sitting a guy down and saying like, who has the messiest locker? You know, not, you know, at least on a personal level, I don't always find those super engaging. I mean, sometimes you just need content to sort of fill that time. We're looking at ways to sort of revamp that sort of stuff and create that identification with players, because that's one of the number one factors behind why someone would choose to attend a game versus just watch on TV or not go altogether. You know, if they can find someone they can identify with, and we create that by showcasing their personality in those kind of, you know, different ways you don't see every day, you know, that's a bonus. That's great for us, you know, great for the player, great for the team, great for attendance. So we're looking at doing that sort of stuff. So one of our columns we have is different ideas for what we're doing in stadium. So, you know, we're always looking to switch it up. One of the things I tried to pay a little more attention to throughout the season is on the road games, I tried looking at what other teams were doing with their in-stadium experience and just sort of took some mental notes of, you know, what was good, you know, what did I not like that much? What do I, you know, a lot of it was subjective. I'm like, what do I think is not engaging? And then, you know, you could also, in some markets, you could pay attention to the crowd and see their reaction. You know,
Right.
Sometimes some people laugh at things, sometimes no one really pays attention or laughs at things. So you kind of have to look for when that's going on. And BC, I'm going to, you know, give credit to, they made a lot of content where sometimes it wasn't, you know, the most crazy different thing, but they did a good job at it, showcasing, you know, player personality and all that, you know, you could tell the crowd was actively engaged in it and they were actually laughing at it. And even sometimes it was just those, you know, sit a guy down and ask him some questions. Even those were pretty good sometimes. So credit to the BC Lions on that. So took some mental notes on that. And then beyond that, this is really cool. Our game presentation manager, I think that's his title, Riley, he went to a conference actually towards the end of last year where they were just, I don't know exactly what it was, this big networking event of some description. Stuff was happening. He talked with people, but they all worked for various different teams in different leagues in different markets. And they just sort of got a sense of what everyone is doing at their particular venue, what sort of in-game content they're doing, and they're sort of sharing and spreading ideas. So, he got a lot of good stuff from that we're looking to bring forward into the experience for next year.
Oh, that's
awesome.
That's fantastic. And once again in the chat is one of the great questions with Cliffy D. He said it's all fine and good that we're talking about the air frying, but will it be served in a football helmet? Because Montreal wants to just rub that in all the time. Look at that beautiful helmet.
There we
I love
are.
it. Yeah, food helmets.
Right. We don't have poutine, but you could put a donair in there, I'm sure. Right?
Yeah. Wow.
Or you could just air fry a football, stick it in there, it'd be great. Just saying.
Yummy.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lots
those
of
cool,
fiber.
unique food things, those are definitely things that we're looking at, although that's well outside of the scope of my
Sure.
work. But
Yeah.
when Montreal dropped that, we just saw how popular it was, how much attention it got on social media. We sort of looked then, so like, what can we do? And then the discussion was kind of a ways for me on that. But even that sort of stuff, like, it's cool to see that, and it makes for really good socials content. Like in Winnipeg, they had that like outrageous burger that was huge.
Yeah.
And they posted just photos and things in short videos of that on Twitter, and like those did really well. So, do something kind of odd out there and ridiculous, and sometimes it'll get attention, sometimes it won't. You just got to experiment here and there.
Yeah, wasn't that a Chris Walby burger?
I think that's what it was called. Yeah.
And it was
He's a
like
big
6
boy, so
patties
yeah.
or something. Some stupid thing. It was ridiculous.
He's a pretty big boy. So.
He is. Yeah, he is. That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm excited, and Richard, you and I have talked about this before, but I'm always excited about the video that plays before the team comes on the field.
Yeah.
And I know, like, even for the podcast, the one year they had the one that we use, that we will use the audio from it with our own video for the start of the podcast. And I'm assuming that you guys got to be like working on that like now, because I can't imagine the amount of time it takes to kind of get that all together.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I'm really passionate about as well.
I knew you were.
So yeah, you just have to wait and see. You just have to wait and see on that. I'm keeping that one close to the chest for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Oh no.
fair.
One of the things that I do though, and with a couple other people, is like I watch all of, or as many as I can, of all of the other broadcasts around North America that do their in-game intros.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, you just pull bits and pieces from different things that you like, and and then other ones that are objectively good. You pull things from that too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to all of that. And yes, it is in the works right now.
Yeah.
And we're
Was that
much further ahead of schedule than we were last year, because Riley Jans, who is a total like monster at his job as game presentation manager, didn't get hired until May.
Right.
Wow.
And then he basically had to step into the cockpit and pull up on the stick. It was a little earlier than May that he got here, but
Yeah, it wasn't long before me at all.
no.
Wow.
And so this year we're well ahead of schedule. I mean, we were working on those plans in October, the starting basis parts of them. So
That's cool. And correct me if I'm wrong, but last year, like, it was the same tune basically for most of them, but they all were a little bit different for each game. Like, they kind of updated as the season went on. Like, was I right on that, or?
yes.
Yeah.
So there were a couple of different things that were going on. Like, there was a different scene setter video for each game.
Hmm.
So, like, for example, before the Calgary game, one of the Calgary games in the middle of the summer, Odell Willis stepped in and did his video. So there was that piece at the start, and then the next piece was the run out.
Yeah.
And that did change from game to game, because obviously Wilder got injured,
Yes.
and different things happened. Like Cornelius stepped into the starting job. So like different things evolved with that. And then there's actually a third piece called This Is It
Okay.
that plays right before the game. And that's as well, that changes
Okay.
season 2 with different things that happen.
Oh, cool.
So it probably will be different this year though.
Okay, a little
That's
more.
how it was last year. Yeah.
A little more consistent. The other part that I was gonna say, I don't know if it was your idea or I don't know whose idea it was, but the retro one for the retro night was so awesome, and especially as a fan who was there when they played the original green and gold and like the EETV and all that. Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. I was like, this is outstanding. I'm 18 again. Please play that video over and over. I love those ideas, guys. I like the switching it up for the theme night and all that kind of thing, but I thought it was really, really cool.
The concept for that one was Riley.
Oh, is that? Oh, it was
So
awesome.
he was the concept, and then I was the double E
awesome
art piece on that, right?
Yeah, that was.
And so also shout out to Mr. Metz at Aquila, and he helped out with that too.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff for the in-game production. Like there were sometimes we were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants because our team came together pretty late on that, but we got it done.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, even speaking of, Riley was hired, just before I even got there. This is kind of funny. Our marketing manager was hired only like 3 days before me. So, I think we made some huge strides for the team this past season over years prior. And it's kind of crazy because the team came together very late, and, there were sometimes where maybe we weren't able to execute on certain things because they required a lot more planning than maybe we initially thought. But for the most part, I think, we were able to identify things, execute on a lot of stuff very well, and, push the entirety of the Elks media game forward.
Yeah. I love even the recent things you've been doing on YouTube with going back to the more vintage players where you had the most accurate quarterback in history with Ricky Ray, and Jed Roberts was the most punishing tackler and things like that. I mean, a lot of people in the chat are senior fans, and so they remember these guys, playing live. We all remember the game we played Calgary in 2003, the Lady Ray rematch, where we won 38-0 in front of 62,000 fans, right? So that's kind of our era for a lot of it. So seeing those guys again and being remembered has been just fantastic to watch every week.
Well, those little minute and a half bits are short because they are the global alumni moments from last season.
Right.
So that's why they're short, but yeah.
Even still, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are sort of things that we're looking at and seeing what we can do. I think there's a point where you can look back on some of that historical stuff, but a lot of the focus needs to be on today, now, moving forward. Actually, I'm going to stop there because I'm about to say stuff that might get me in trouble. I've been told not to do much, not to do too much speculation, so I'll stop there.
Well, all right. Okay, so my personal take on this is that it's important that I think stuff like that learning about the older players in the team, it really enriches your understanding of where we are now as a new fan. And one of the things I've noticed is there's a lot of people who are in the space where they are like, yeah, the CFL, but then you get to the hardcore fans, and those are the sorts of people that's how you go from being just a regular CFL fan to being like a hardcore CFL fan, is when you kind of know a little bit more about everything that's going on, right? So not only do you have the short form content that's like top 10 quarterbacks of all time, but your next one is top 10 Jake Seresna sacks from 2021.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So there's an infinite number of those things that are out there that once people know them, or and this is another whole larger thing. If Gregor is on the radio and he's talking one day, right? What's to say he doesn't have a 30-minute instead of having a 45-minute conversation about the fourth line? Again.
Well played.
Why not have a half-hour conversation about the top 10 receivers?
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's just the mark of, to me, a healthy fan, right? That's something I want to talk about.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Well, I think there's also that whole, where you come from, where we started, and now, yeah, we had some struggles, but we're going to get back to being where we were. I mean, you want to be talking about that, right? So, yeah, I'd like to see more of that for sure. And I know Coach Vic was even just saying, history is good to establish foundation, but we've got to pump the tires of today.
So I got to think this
Yeah.
might just be Victor's burner account.
Yeah.
That is, I think that is exactly a phrase that he would say for sure. And I agreed at that. So one thing that we do, I don't know what it was like with the team before, but one thing that is a big Victor concept is he calls them buckets, but essentially they have a spreadsheet. I don't look at the spreadsheets and stuff, but essentially there is, a certain amount of content we want to dedicate to different categories or different types. So, if let's say we're doing 20 videos, there's a certain number we want to allocate to different things for, information, for personality, for humor, and sometimes those cross over, and then there's history. So yeah, I think there's time, there's definitely space for it. It's just a matter of how much do we want to allocate to that, how much do we think is going to be beneficial, and I think it's definitely a neat concept.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Anything else there, super fan, that we need to touch on?
I think we've been going pretty well in real time at this point.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, then let's wrap up for tonight. You guys have been very, very generous with your time. I really, really appreciate it. And it's been awesome to get a bit of an inside track and look forward to the air fryer videos for this year.
Yes.
It's going to be amazing.
I cannot guarantee will happen.
Yeah.
But I can always pitch it.
Yeah.
And then it might get walked back to something reasonable. Or not. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, the answer is always no unless you ask. That's
right.
really how this works. But you guys have been amazing, and we're looking forward to seeing you around the field, of course, as we get into training camp and to games and such. But thank you so much for spending so much time with us. And Wilson's trying to get in there right at the end. Well, here I think the. Day yesterday, so it's perfect. Yeah. All right. What are you laughing about now?
Coach Vic just said, "I'll see you two in the office tomorrow."
I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's very good. All right. So thank you again for joining us. Again, we will be back on February 21st. We will talk all things free agency and then get set up as we get into the combine in March, because that will also be very exciting.
Yeah.
Somebody might be there for the whole time.
Yes.
Yay. I'm excited. Yeah. Oh, good. I'll see you guys there too. How many air fryers are you bringing?
Vic.
Yeah. And
Depends on how many are allowed under the fire code in the field house.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. I'm glad that we have this plan in place. I look forward to helping with that. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. We really appreciate it. And once again, remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you in a few weeks.